Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Micah just checking in. Actually, I'm doing a video outside of my work. You know, it's definitely a beautiful day, so I decided to do it on my lunch break. But honestly, I wanted to do a video on progression and really what's the best approach to making changes to my physique. Is it just pure research? Research-based, you know, I read a lot of studies, and that's what's always going to hold true for me in my progress. Is it the bro science way, or the things that have just been around for so long that, hey man, they got to be true? They keep popping up and people are doing them and seeing results? Or is it basically experience or the background that you have through schooling, through what you're doing with work, what you're doing, you know, throughout your course of your life, that really dictates how you progress? And to be honest with you, in my opinion, it's actually all three. You know, I come from like a background of exercise and nutrition. I love reading research. I actually do that very frequently as far as reading research studies and trying to really gather as much information as possible, because it's just interesting to me that they actually do tons of studies. And to be honest with you, nowadays it's so readily available at your fingertips that you can pull up research studies, you know, just looking it up on Google. And there are some research studies that are out there that you just don't even think that they would have. And honestly, you know, that's such a good thing, because it's always changing. Science is always changing or finding new ways or new things to kind of promote to the general population. And so that's another thing, though. There's a couple of drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is that you have to look at the sample size that they're using. How many people were actually in this study? How long were they actually doing this study? Who is actually funding this study? I mean, there's so many different factors. And also, it's a way that you're interpreting data, you know, personally. Like, what's your background with reading research and actually understanding it and actually applying what they found in a regular setting? Because you have to understand, in a research study, you know, they kind of have everything situated in a perfect scenario, or at least almost perfect scenario, as much as they can, to create an outcome that they're trying to search after. And so trying to apply something that's in a research setting or a study setting into the general population, not the easiest thing to do, to mimic the same thing. But we can still learn. We can still learn what happens. And a lot of times too, this is more general population type of sample sizes, not specifically to a particular group of people, or maybe it's like some athletes or trained athletes. You know, so trying to apply what they've learned in that study to maybe your clients or yourself personally may look a little differently, but honestly, you can still learn what they're trying, what they're researching, what they're finding, because that can help drive what you're gonna do for your personal progression. And number two is the bro science way. Honestly, this is how I started when it came down to bodybuilding, is that I would read like magazines like Muscle and Fitness, Flex magazine. This was all before bodybuilding.com, where there was a little bit more information out there. But so I would see these training splits. Oh yeah, you know, you push leg pull, you know, or oh, work every body part once a week, or doing, you know, this. There's just so many different things that were out there, and I see people doing it and they're seeing results. And you know, and that's the thing too, is that when somebody is consistently doing something, they're gonna see progress. And is it optimal? Maybe. For them, yes, just because they're holding consistent to doing something. So if somebody's doing you got to eat every 2 to 3 hours, or you got to have, you know, you got to eat clean, or you have to eat something after you eat. You have to eat protein. You got to make sure that you're in that anabolic window. You got to make sure that you're eating casein protein, so that at the end of the day, so that way it's a slow digestive. You know, you got all these different things that are just continue to spring up as truths, supposedly. And to be honest with you, there are some truths in this, is that it helps out with people being consistent with something. It gives them a routine. It gives them the ability to be in a habitual, you know, get into a habit to make change. And that's You know, that's ultimately what you want. And then there's experience, your background. Somebody that, you know, goes through school, they get their degree, they have a strong background with exercise or nutrition or whatever it might be, and that's what's going to help in their progression, just based off of everyday experience and what they've seen. Because there are some things that research, you know, can't really show, or it hasn't been shown yet, and there are some things that bro science things just hasn't worked for you personally, and you have to go off of that, and that's going to dictate how you're going to move forward. And this is kind of an application to even coaching people, because there are so many different types of people that there is not one cookie cutter way of doing things, and you know, as far as that's concerned. And you may have a client or yourself that, hey man, eating 2 to 3 hours at a time, making sure that I eat right after, you know, my workout, eating this particular protein before I go to bed, that's the best approach for me, man. Like, it's gonna help me stay consistent. Hey man, that's great, you know. So, and then you have the other people that they aren't able to do those standard things. So what do you do with them? Or do you just kind of like push them off to the side? No, you have the ability to learn from the research studies. Hey, you know, I know that there's a dozen different case studies as far as how they've tested for meal frequency and how that's not necessarily going to do damage to what you're trying to do with fat loss or fat loss progression and in your journey. So you can spread it out. You can have your 3-4 meals a day, and it's not going to impact your ability to lose fat. And if that's going to help you stay consistent, perfect. If that's going to help you stay within your calories or your macronutrient allotment for that day, perfect. And that's, you know, kind of how I see it, is that you kind of have to take everything all in and apply it and see what works best for you. And some people can really do the bro diet thing, or like they have to eat the chicken, the sweet potato, the broccoli. They can do that, and that doesn't faze them. That's their thing. And who am I to say that doesn't work? Hey man, you can eat cupcakes, you can eat pizza, you can fit those things in, you can enjoy life. No man, like I can't do that, because if I start going down that road, I'm gonna run into issues. I'm gonna bloat, or those foods just don't agree with me. Like, it's gonna be hard for me to be consistent. Who am I to say that eating clean or so-called clean is a bad approach? You know, and so if it works for somebody, awesome. That's the thing, is that I think it's just the ability to accept that other people have different approaches and it works for them. And when it comes down to coaching, that's where you have to kind of take it all in as well. You may have somebody that has been doing the bro dieting way and they actually really like doing that. So how do you work with them? Do you just force down, you gotta eat flexible, you have to do it, like you can't be an athlete of mine if you don't do it this way? No, you know, hey man, like let's start tracking your food. Let's start making sure that at least we know where your calories, you know, are at, your macronutrients. That way, if there's some sticking points in your fat loss progress or your conditioning in your contest prep phase, that way we have some areas of opportunity to cut back and, you know, try some different approaches with your macronutrient intake, and then also your exercise. And so that's just my thoughts on what you can do as far as when it comes down to what's the best approach. I think it's a combination of all three, and that's what's going to maximize your results. But anyways, what are you guys' thoughts on that as far as what's best for making progress? Is it science-based? Is it you know, experience? Or is it the things that have been around for so long, they have to be true, and that's the only way that you can get results? But thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye-bye.